All right, guys, so I used AI to generate my content for about a month, and I cannot believe the results. My mind was blown. Okay, so as you know, for years I used an editor to help me to edit my videos, and I am now back to being a one woman show. With that in mind, I have only so much time at my disposal to do so, and I had to come up with some ways to get my videos out faster and easier. At the time, I was doing 3 videos a week. So imagine the time crunch I was under when I was trying to not only film these videos but also get them edited. Which brings me to the reason for this video and me sharing with you what happened when I created my content and wrote my scripts using AI. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the good, the bad, and the ugly, as well as what you need to know if you want to use AI to help you create your content as well. Okay, so expert after expert is singing the praises of AI. On every corner, on every block, in every nook and cranny of the digiverse, experts are talking about AI and how they're using it and how amazing it has been for their business. Because of that, I thought I would use it, and I thought I had found the gold at the end of the rainbow. Before I get into what ultimately happened, my ultimate results, I want to share with you some of the immediate outcomes I had. I really did think I had found the answer to my prayer. And in some ways I did. I don't want you to think that it was a bad experience. I think it was more of a great learning experience. And I want to give you the benefit of what I learned. So I want you to stick around until the end of the video, and I'm going to give you my final impression as well as some tips that you can walk away with that are going to give you the benefit of my experience. Let's talk about the good. Okay. Here, I have a list of things here that I want to share with you that were really good for using AI. Number one, the content I got was amazing. Okay, at first glance, it was so good. I also saved a ton of time, right? It seemed like it was going to be the answer to a prayer. So these are all good things. And another thing that I want to express here is that I learned so much. When you put prompts in and you ask AI to give you like references or to quote resources, you find out a lot more than maybe you even knew on the subject, or it gives you a way to expand your own expertise when you get back whatever it is it gives you. So I love that, and I learned so much because of that. But girl, let me just tell you, because of these three things alone, I thought that I was going to be the master of AI, and I was going to walk away and start making videos, sharing with you how to use it, and I was going to be this big time expert on like helping people get where they want to go using AI. And this video is kind of part of that because I used it and I had these expectations. And when I tell you they were managed. AI managed my expectations. I was planning this course I was going to create. I was going to do all these things because I felt like I had hit the jackpot using AI to create my content. And you might feel that same way because you've been able to use it. You're getting content out. You feel like it sounds like you. It's beautiful. You know, you're looking at yours and you're comparing it to what you see other marketers doing, and you're like, yes, mine is every bit as good. I know you're doing it because I did it, right? So if you're there, this video is really for you because it could be a little bit deceiving, and I'm going to tell you how here in just a moment. Now, have you ever heard the saying, all that glitters isn't gold? Or maybe you've heard just because they make it in your size doesn't mean you need to wear it. One of these sayings really means that your perception of something isn't always the truth. And then the other one says to you to make sure that you know what works for you and your needs, because everything wasn't meant for you. So if you read those into those two sayings, you would know that just because experts are spewing the greatness of AI and the results that they're getting from it, you need to dig a little bit deeper and understand how best to use it for yourself. So I want to share with you some of the things that I thought, well, though I thought my outcomes were amazing, this is how I'll say this. Though I thought my outcomes were amazing, the results were not what I hoped for. So take notes. Grab a cup of coffee, grab your tea, grab a drink, and let me share with you what happened. Before I do that though, if you have not subscribed to this channel, please go ahead and do so. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss my uploads, and give this video a thumbs up. Because if you felt like I felt at the beginning of this video, where AI was going to be like a key to unlocking an awesome like pot of gold, it could still be that for you, but I want to help you manage your expectations around it, just in case you're starting to feel a little discouraged. I'm going to tell you why. But again, hit that subscribe button. Listen, okay, so here's what happened. Even though I was putting in prompts and I felt like I was feeding it exactly what it needed to know to get the results that I wanted, what I was missing a few things. Like, there is certainly a lot left that is in between the cracks that are not said, that you really aren't prepared to do if you're not thinking along these lines. If your expectation of AI is that you can just put in a prompt and it'll spit out the results that you want. And that's what I was doing. And in doing so, I was getting amazing results. But there were a few holes that I wasn't even consciously aware needed to be filled. So I was thinking that what I had was working amazingly, because it seemed like it was, it sounded, as I looked back at the videos, it sounded really professional, really good. And I thought that I had done a good job. It wasn't until about week 3 where I started to look at some numbers and I was like, well, wait a minute, they're not performing very well. So this is where we're getting into the bad and the ugly of AI and our expectations around AI. So what I was seeing was my views on these videos where I was using AI were very, very low. Very, very low. And as you know, the goal when you put your video up is to get, as many views as possible. And then so many YouTube experts are telling you that your title and your thumbnail are what are really going to attract people to your video. And because I thought by typing in the prompts that I wanted my titles to be keyword rich and I wanted them to be optimized for growth, and I was using that terminology, I'm thinking that AI is doing this for me and that I am getting a better result from using AI than I would if I were doing it on my own, right? That is the logical thought, right? That we're thinking that AI is going to make our job easier, and if we put the right prompts in, it's going to spit out the right result. But my views on my videos were so much lower, and I really started to notice it around week 3. The first 2 weeks, I thought it was like a fluke, and I was like, maybe that wasn't a subject that people really were interested in. I'll have to go in to look at that. But by the 3rd week, what I realized was you can't totally rely on what it gives you to connect with your audience. You have to understand the relationship you have with your audience. You got to know your audience, first of all, but you have to know the relationship you have with them so that you can connect with their feeling around the subject matter, and you can capture that in your title, and you can capture that in your thumbnail, and you can capture that in your description. And AI doesn't help with that. That is something that you have to plug into it, and it'll use and incorporate it into what it finds, but you have to know the answers to those questions as well. So you still have to do that little bit of work, and I'll get back to that in a little bit because there's some more that goes into this. Another thing that happened, the bad and the ugly of it all, was that I wasn't using the prompts properly. So here's what I found out. You have to know, well, I knew this part. Well, you have to know what to put into the prompt to get the right content, okay? And also you have to have a clear vision for what you want the tone of the video to be. And you have to know your subject matter enough to be able to fill in those holes that I talked about in the prompt, because it's going to give you a really good result. But you really should look at that result that it gives you, and start asking some questions. If the content is too high level, how can you break it down? If you know what the steps are to something, but it's grazed over some of the steps and kind of just giving you an overview, a high level view, how can you get down in the weeds and ask it more questions so that it can fill in that gap a little bit simpler than what it gave you? So you've got to be able to drill down, which means you need to know the subject matter yourself, right? And then the other thing is you have to know what you want your outcome to be and the tone of the video that you want to people to walk away with. So I'm going to start with this. So first of all, let me back up. So you need to have a clear vision of the video. How do you want the video to go? I do a lot of talking head videos, but I am now starting to think about, okay, how can I incorporate more movement, more B-roll into my videos to make them more interesting? If you want me to do a video on like how to read your analytics to understand kind of what you need to be doing, how you can do things differently to get different results, let me know down in the comments below. But for now, you want to have a clear vision for the tone that you want your video to have. There is an emotion that you want to evoke, whether it's you want them to, get excited, or you want them to be motivated, or you want to encourage someone, or you want to elicit responses. You need to know what that is going into creating the video and creating like the prompt so that you know what types of words to use to give it. If you want them to feel a certain way, you want to put that in the prompt so that they can create that language. And then you want to know what you want the outcome to be. What do you want them to take away from this video? Do you want them to click something? Do you want to sell them something? Do you want to offer your services? Do you want to give them a freebie? What do you want the outcome of this video to be? That also needs to go into the prompt, because you want to guide them, you want to guide AI into this, to spitting out something that is going to be language that walks people through this actual process to get the outcome that you want. Now, ultimately, I've talked about my views were lower, and I'm telling you that I didn't use the prompts properly. And next, the overall outcome is that I really did not save time at all. I did not save the time that I thought I would, because my videos and stuff, the views were so low. Now I have to kind of go back some of those videos. I need to do a little bit more research and understanding what my viewer actually wants and what is still needed, right? So I'm going to have to go in, maybe do a little bit of adjusting to the title and to the thumbnail and to the description so that it matches what the actual need is. I need to do a little research on that. I need to go onto the platform. This is that was kind of after. So researching, maybe I can go back and fix some things in terms of the thumbnail, the video, and the description. That I can do post-publishing. But here's some things that I think you should do pre-publishing that's going to be a part of this prompt creation. First of all, again, doing that research to understand what your audience actually needs, which is why you need to know them. But then next, doing some platform recon. Go to YouTube and go to the platform that you're creating the content for. Find out what people are saying about the subject matter that you are going to be talking about in your content. Look for comments and see what other questions people might have that you can answer. You need to do a little bit of recon work so that you can add that into your prompt so that it makes writing that script easier, or creating that content, and it's going to add more value to those people who had those questions. And then you'll kind of know what you need to say to fill in that gap. And then you want to match your content to the offer, or match your offer, to the content so that you'll have a solid call to action. You want to have a seamless transition, the segue on the back end. So you need to be thinking about how what you're saying in terms of the content you're sharing relates to the offer that you're going to be given, so that when you're creating the prompts to put in AI, you can give it that dot that connects the 2 points, and then it will help to create the language that makes that transition seamless and it doesn't seem salesy. So you need to have that information as well. And then also you want to go ahead and research the keywords that need to be mentioned so that they're more specific. What I found with AI when I say list, keywords and tags that support this content or this script, and you say optimize for whatever it is you're trying to optimize for, it is going to give you a list of tags. And you're like, wow, these are some really good keywords. These are some really good tags. But if you've not done that initial research to understand whether or not this is specific to the audience that you are talking to, it could be too broad. And therefore, you're going to miss the boat. And it's the equivalent of being a small fish in a big pond. When you're using very similar keywords and very popular keywords that other people are using, your content is going to get lost in the fray. And so your videos aren't going to get as much traction because you're in a pool of sharks and you're a little minnow. So you want to think about doing some research on keywords for yourself that your ideal audience identifies with. And then you can plug those into your prompting so that it spits out your script that uses that terminology. So when you're doing the video or you're writing the content, it's actually speaking those actual words. But then also when you put in like list keywords that are similar to this, that are going to help you identify or attract this audience, that's going to be extremely helpful as well. But again, all of this means it's very important for you to know who your audience is. So that when you are going in after you've received the prompt, now you can go in and edit to attract the audience you want to attract using your language. What you should never do is go in and just copy and paste the script that it gives you. I've done that, and I think that that is in part why some of it didn't perform as well. I did tweak things a little bit, but I did not utilize some of these fill in the crack types of tips that I just shared with you when it comes to putting in those prompts so that you get the right information back. And even when you do what I'm telling you to do with the idea of putting those prompts in to get the right results, even when it spits out the results, you still have to do your due diligence and go back. And I would just keep asking it to regenerate based on what it gives you and whether or not there are still cracks that need to be filled. And I also say here, because I took a course years ago, and one of the things that it talked about was having a language that's all your own for your business and for the things that you serve. If you've been here for any period of time, you know that I talk about things like your epiphany moment, your epiphany journey. I talk about creating circumstances for optimal success. I talk about a personal framework. This is all the language. This is my language that I created for my brand. It may have very, very similar meanings to someone else's content, but this is the terminology that I use for my brand. So when you are putting these prompts in, AI doesn't know what your language is. So you have to know what industry language is. And I'm going to get to this in just a second, but you want to make sure that through each stage that is being generated, you're going through and you're looking for the cracks, you're looking for the holes, you're looking for the information that is at a higher level that you need to sort of bring down to where your audience is, meeting them where they are. These are some of the mistakes that I made. Again, when you're initially doing this, you think that it's going to be the gold at the end of the rainbow, and you think it's going to be the answer to your problems. But you do have to use it. Take it with a grain of salt, what it gives you, but then do your due diligence to do all the digging and the customization of what it gives you. So the other thing, a couple of bonus items that I sort of thought of here was, I really think that the platform knows, especially YouTube. I think it can look at the script or listen to the script or look at the description and tell that it was AI generated. That's just my thought. If you find that to be true, I would love to see your comments down and below. And then also, I think if you are the type of person that has been just copying the generated content that it shares with you, the script, and you're just using it from what you copy, it removes the relatability component to the content creation. And I think that's a very important component when you are trying to get buy-in from your audience. They need to feel that authenticity from you. They need to know that it's genuine. And sometimes, even if it sounds a lot like you, in your attempt to read it and execute on it, you lose a little bit of the relatability because you're trying to just kind of execute on what you have copied, and it's not coming from your own place, your own genuine place. I do think you lose a little bit of that relatability. All right, so let's get into my tips. All right, I've shared a few of them with you, but let me just share a few more. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we'll wrap this thing up. I'll go as quickly as possible. So the first tip I have for you is to start with the end in mind. Okay, start with the end in mind. What type of video do you want to create? Think about that first. Do you want your video to be entertaining, educational, informational? What do you want what do you want the vibe of this video to be? Because that's going to help you think about how you want to write your prompt. Next, what do you want the viewer to walk away with after watching the video? Okay, so that's something else that you need to have in mind when you are writing your prompt. What emotion do you want the viewer to feel? We talked about that a little bit earlier while they're watching your video, because you got to keep that level of emotion up. And what I found too, and this has just been just in general, is when you're looking at your analytics on YouTube, it's going to show you where your audience is dropping off. Are they dropping off at 30 seconds? Are they dropping off at 2 minutes? You need to identify what's going on at 45 seconds. What's going on at 2 minutes that made them leave and drop off? Are you continually enforcing that feeling that you want your viewer to have that's going to keep them watching? Next, what tone do you want to convey while filming? Do you want to be the educator? Do you want to be the expert? Do you want to be the fun girl? Do you want to be, the stylish person? Like what tone do you want to have with your videos? I try really hard to kind of show up cute, but also to give you some information that maybe you hadn't thought about in that way before. You may know what I'm talking about, but thinking about it from the perspective of how you leverage yourself in that area, I try to come to you with that level of education. And then, so next tip I have for you is to use your brand narrative and methodology to inform the prompt. So you have to be able to translate your brand terms. I talked about that before. I say personal framework. I say circumstances for optimal success. You've got to translate that for the prompt. Get the information you need, and then you can translate it back into your language once you get the prompt, which is another reason why you have to kind of rewrite it. You can't just copy and paste. You've got to translate it back into your own language. The next, again, identify any missing information. I told you, continue to drill down and regenerate as soon as you get the prompt. It's not going to be right the first time. It's going to give you some high level things. It's going to give you some terminology that might need to be broken down a little bit more. So make sure that you are identifying those missing elements, or you are breaking down higher level content into smaller chunks, bite-sized pieces. So you need to make sure you do that. And then also, next, I want you to combine and translate the material that they provided to you in the script, I said this before, into your own language. And then ask for titles and thumbnails, but don't just take what they give you. I think that one of the biggest areas that I missed out on here was using a tool like TubeBuddy to go in and put in some of those titles and see whether it is going to score well on your channel. I used to do that, and then when I was doing that, my videos were getting very high view numbers. As for me, they were getting high view numbers, and I stopped doing that because I was using AI, thinking AI was like the holy grail, and I was going to get great results. But you cannot do that. Don't just take the thumbnails and the titles that it gives you and just pick one that you think sounds good and plop it up there. Use your tools inside YouTube to go in and, like TubeBuddy, and test those titles and thumbnails to see if they are going to score well on your channel. And I would always look for things that were like 75 or 80 over 100, because that's going to ensure that at least people on your channel are interested in it, and then it could get even pushed out even further. Okay. Using AI for content creation was definitely an eye-opening experience for me. It did save me a lot of time and a lot of energy, and I did get incredible ideas from it. I learned a lot from it as well, and it even produced content that sounded just like me. It did. But the reality of the situation is AI can't replace things like my unique perspective. It can't replace the knowledge I have about my audience. And it can't replace, the personal connection that I have with my audience, and the thing that I bring to the screen, right? So, what I want you to hear and learn from this is, without the right prompt, without the right strategy, without the right editing, your results just may not be what you want them to be. They'll be shiny, they'll be pretty, and they'll look good on the surface, but it's going to fall flat when it comes to engaging and relating with your audience and getting those views that you want your videos to have. Now, the bottom line is, AI is definitely a powerful tool, but it works best when you guide it with intention, have brand clarity, and you have a deep understanding of your audience. So, speaking of strategy, if you want to see how I am taking these lessons and applying them to my own content, then I want you to take a look at this next video, because there are a few other pieces to the puzzle that I want you to see. I did a video it's called From Overlooked to Unforgettable Brand Strategy for Entrepreneurs. I think it's a great tie-in with this lesson and the prompts. It's packed with tips that you can start using right now to create content that actually connects. All right, take a look at that next video, guys. Thanks for watching today, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye.